All right, Michael Cohen. Anything else before I let you go that you're writing about, that you're thinking about, that I didn't ask you about?
Yeah, I got one more thing here.
Yeah, please.
Ron DeSantis, this weasel.
Great guy.
So I'm sure you've heard the story. Ron DeSantis announced a grand jury to investigate the vaccine makers, Pfizer and.
Well, they had a whole panel yesterday, and he had experts, and it was televised. It was on camera, and it was it's very, very scary and dangerous what he's doing. So I'm glad you brought it up. Go ahead, your thoughts on it.
I mean, we're basically coming into the winter when COVID rates tend to go up. You're already seeing some of that happening already.
Hospitals are filled. You also have flu, which is also a vaccine that you can get. You have this RSV, respiratory virus, which puts a lot of young kids in danger. Go ahead.
No, and the problem is that we have a third of the country's not vaccinated. I looked at the number today. I was curious about this. It's 68% of the country is fully vaccinated. You know what that number was in March? 66%. That's how much needle has moved. And
those numbers are got to be really hard to measure because the vaccination wears off after a certain amount of time, and so you're not necessarily as protected. And that's
it does. But the thing is that people are not getting vaccinated, and people who don't want to, and this only makes it less likely they get vaccinated because he's telling them there are these terrible side effects, and we have to investigate it, as opposed to saying these vaccines are a miracle, which they are, and everyone should get one. So what I think is striking about it is that we talk about Donald Trump as being a horrible person and a horrible potential president and someone who spreads conspiracy theories. What's worse, him spreading lies about 2020 or Ron DeSantis literally causing people to not get vaccinated and die from COVID? I think DeSantis has that one.
Absolutely. I'm not sure the question should be what's worse. The question should be who's carrying on this type of very dangerous performance.
But I say what's worse because we talk about this in the context of Trump being like the worst, the worst candidate. He's awful. He's terrible. You have to get someone who's a more like reasonable Republican, right? That's what Republicans say. Ron DeSantis, the guy who's basically undermining public, support for vaccines, who's an anti-vaxxer, it's worse. I just think it's one of these situations that like it's incredibly disturbing to see him doing this, and he's doing it for obvious reasons. He thinks the way to get a Republican nomination in 2024. What did I tell you about the Republican Party, by the way?
The headlines are DeSantis seeks grand jury investigation of COVID-19 vaccines. And I can't begin to imagine the damage that this is going to do to the public debate around vaccines, which was settled. It was very settled for a long time, for the most part.
Well, but it's settled by a third country not getting vaccinated. But we need to be encouraging them to get vaccinated, not giving them more reasons not to get vaccinated.
This will give them plenty of reason. Just to, you don't have to read much or follow the story much just to have enough of a question about something, about the vaccines and their ability to protect you. And people will, and they won't get vaccinated, and then we're in deep trouble. And then just the public support and faith in institutions in general, The
whole thing is just, and it's so unethical. And as well as I do, that Ron DeSantis does not think vaccinations will hurt you. He's doing this for political reasons.